Hello everybody, Lyndon here, and today I'm going to be showing you my history museum project that I've been working on for hours and hours and hours. Been streaming it on Twitch and uploading it onto YouTube, and this is the final product. So, to start off with, we got massive staircase as usual, and columns and such. And as we go into the entrance, we have men with papers, probably tour guides or stuff. And we have my actual account, because I'm on my laptop right now, and that's my Xbox account. So over here to the left where we start is a quick simulation of Germany versus Britain at the Battle of the Somme, because that's probably what happened most. Germany had more casualties than Britain at the Battle of the Somme, and during World War I generally they had more casualties than the enemies. Over here we have the leaders of the Triple Entente and the Triple Alliance. So first off we have Prime Minister David Lloyd George from Britain. We have Kaiser Wilhelm II from Germany, Emperor Tsar Nicholas II from Russia, Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau from France, Emperor Franz Joseph I from Austria-Hungary, and Victor Emmanuel III from Italy. Now over here, Minecraft doesn't really have a big range of armors and weapons, so I just had to go with the flow. We have the leather light armor used at the back of the trenches, where most of the low qualified men would stay, and quite a few of the leaders. Here we have the support armor for support units such as medics and weapon and ammo bringers. Here we have the center trench armor used for people in the center trench, as the name suggests, where quite a lot of the fighting happened, but it was mainly long range because they had a better view from back there, but it wasn't that close. Here we have the commander armor/uniform, which was changed halfway through World War I because they realized that if the commander and the leader has a different uniform to the rest of the army, everybody's just going to aim for them. And if the commander's gone, then you have nobody to lead the army. So they changed it to just normal armor. Here we have the leader's armor, which was well equipped with bags that held everything you could possibly need, webbing, that kind of stuff, grenades, ammo, everything you need, medical equipment and such. Here we have the heavy armor used for men who had the flamethrowers and like grenade launchers, and grenade launcher men were literally just called grenadiers. They were based on the front line. Now, as I said, Minecraft doesn't have a great range of weapons, so here we have the guns that they used. They used assault rifles, submachine guns, light machine guns, snipers, and handguns. Except, mostly under snipers, it would be more like muskets and that, because even then, they didn't have a great range of weapons. They had only just came out of the sword and shield era, really. So then over here we have the heavier guns like the flamethrowers and the grenade launchers, which were used obviously by men who had the heavy armor on the front line. There was many different ammo types for each different weapon, and it also included incendiary ammo, which when hit on an enemy would light them on fire. You also have the protective equipment, less so shields, more like just general body armor and that, but they didn't really have much of that, so they used the surroundings as shields in a way. They also had the grenades or the throwables in general, such as grenades, molotovs, semtexes, C4, dynamite, which were the lethal throwables, and they also had the tactical throwables, like smoke grenades, flashbangs, and such. They also had igniting tools to burn enemy bases and trenches if they got close, which they didn't really ever get close to an enemy base until the end of the war. And those were mainly hit by aircraft and tanks and that. You also had the support equipment like the pickaxes and the shovels to build out trenches, so you had space to move around. Obviously they weren't that big because they didn't have a lot of resources, but they still had to make it big enough that it was usable and accessible. And finally, they had compasses and trackers, less so trackers because that's more modern, but compasses so they could find their way around trenches and no man's land so that they didn't go into the enemy area unless they wanted to, of course, which then they'd use the compass for that as well. Then over here we have the actual trenches. This is supposed to imitate no man's land, but I don't really know how to imitate no man's land. It was basically just a big grassland. The cobwebs here, they're supposed to imitate barbed wire, but Minecraft doesn't have a great range of things. So here we have the flooring. It has the holes that they would seep the water through, and like the dugging and that kind of stuff that would let the water through to the floor so they didn't all get trench foot, because you know trench foot isn't that good. And here we have fire steps. There's about 3 of these, I think, and they were used so they could just peek over the top of the trenches and be able to aim and shoot at the enemy, because obviously you want to just climb above the trenches because you'd get shot, because the enemy is always watching, and never underestimate your enemy. Now this goes all the way around, and then we get to my favorite part, which is the vehicles. Now this took a long time to build. I mean, the museum itself took a long time to build, but the vehicles took a really long time to build. So first of all, we got Zeppelins. They were filled with gas, which, if you know the Hindenburg disaster, they didn't go very well. They eventually got found out by the British that you could hit them with incendiary grenades and they'd like blow up. And then the Germans stopped using them after the Hindenburg disaster. Then we had tanks, which were New World weaponry, or just transport in general. For example, this one has weaponry and transport. As you see, you got seats. I perfectly fitted them so your head hit the ceiling, which obviously won't be very good in a war, but you know. We also have the actual gun itself. Obviously, the sharper your barrel, the better range and hip fire you actually get with the weaponry. Then over here is the hardest one to build, but my personal favorite, aircraft. This is actually a Bristol bomber. Well, it's supposed to be, but these were also New World weaponry, and this is where incendiary bullets started off to hit the Zeppelins. I mean, they started off as spotters in the sky. They would be used to track enemy movement and the location of the enemies and their bases and such. But later on, weaponry was placed on them, like machine guns with incendiary bullets. I really like the incendiary bullets, that's why I keep mentioning it. And every time aircraft, after they got weaponry added to them, went into a battle with each other, they were known as dogfights, and they're still known as dogfights. Now in here, I added a nice hole to get through. You have the practical view of a Bristol bomber, and this is supposed to imitate a joystick. I was going to add a bomb in here, then I realized that there's not a lot of space. Also, you won't really be able to move around in here it's just Minecraft, so you know. And over here, we have big symbols that imitate the war in general. So first of all, we have the World War One symbol. Like, if you're making a World War One museum, then you've got to have a World War One symbol. And then over here, we have the original German symbol. I'm not sure what it's called, but this is what the German symbol was like in World War One before it changed to the swastika in World War Two. And it has a versus, and then Britain. And then, because it was mainly Germany versus Britain, everybody else kind of just joined in. Like the Triple Alliance and the Triple Entente. And then, like every museum, you have to have a gift shop at the end, because if you don't, then it's not really much of a museum. It's got nothing on the shelves because Minecraft doesn't like slabs. And then you got the nice signs. Thanks for coming to the World War One museum, as you do, and you just leave. Now, to show you the sheer scale of this, like these columns, they are massive. Like from far away, they look small, but they're pretty big, and they've got things inside them as well, which I'm not gonna break because that was a pain to do. We also have the design on the front, design at the sides, and that. Now, it's so big, it doesn't even fit in the 16 chunk range. Like, it takes me a full... It's still going. It takes me a full 10 seconds at max speed to get across here. And I spent hours building this. So yeah, that was my World War One museum. For the history project. Goodbye.